Welcome back to Venture Onward. Today I plan to talk about concentrating on the third hero to take on the mantle of Blue Beetle is positioned to develop DC's cinematic universe. Arriving ahead of James Gunn's unique approach to the franchise, the movie will set Jamie as a new face in the globe who sees himself revealed to a secretive scarab that binds with him and gives him incredible new abilities. Guided by angel Manuel Soto, who worked on Charm City Kings, the movie is firmly entrenched in Jamie's cultural lineage. It is selected to get an extensive cast of Latino entertainers into the superhero genre. In an interview with director Angel Manuel Soto and actor Xolo Maridueña, who plays Jamie Reyes, aka Blue Beetle, took the podium to speak about the significance of uncovering genuineness in a movie, determining which components of Jamie Reyes to integrate into the adaptation of the character, and why Blue Beetle, which was initially slated for a streaming takeoff, is coming to the silver screen. After showing the trailer to members of the press, Maridueña acknowledged, "I've got the jitters. Every time I see the trailer, I get excited. To be able to show it to all of you, it's been a pleasure. It looks sick." The sentiment was shared by Soto, who joked that he'd thought seeing the footage would eventually get old. "But damn. With you guys here, it just felt different. It felt like the first time I saw it." Set in Palmera City, a new city in the DCEU, Blue Beetle is the big screen introduction for Jamie Reyes and his whole family, who the trailer mentions how will play a considerable function in the story. Jamie's sister, Milagros, is regarded through the trailer as one of the people Jamie relies on for assistance, and his mother, uncle, and grandmother are all aspects of the narrative. Indicating the significance of modeling for the movie, Soto rationalized that it was essential for the film to exhibit the lived-in understanding that migrant families encounter. "One of the things we wanted to do with the cast was to be as authentic as we can. We wanted to tap into the three generations. We wanted to see the first immigrant family, how they bring their sons and the sons who are born here. Being able to tap into the three generations authentically, with Jamie and his sister Milagros, who was born here, and then you've got George Lopez, who's been here for a minute and is a national treasure, as well as Elpidia Carrillo, she's the mother, and George is the uncle. I really wanted to tap into what I consider the best actors from Mexico City, which is Adriana Barraza and Damian Alcazar. So I wanted to bring all the people I respect from the movies I saw growing up from Mexico, which really inspired me to become a filmmaker. We've got Harvey Guillen, who is of Mexican descent, and Raúl Max Trujillo, who is native Mexican, too, so being able to keep it as authentic as possible, not keep it the hallmark cookie-cutter Latinos. They took the film and made it theirs. They took their fun very seriously. That's one of the things I loved about working with them all. For me, as a director, that's the most satisfying thing. This is the first of many other communities being able to tell their stories in a way that feels authentic, with the voices that should tell those stories, with the respect and honor those communities deserve. My goal is that everybody makes a movie. Why not? Everybody who wants to make it, and make your story. Hopefully, this opens the door for movies from Nicaragua, Venezuela, and from Argentina. Stories that we don't hear about and that can enrich us and make us better humans and make us understand each other better. It starts a conversation that allows us to be in a global community and embraces our differences in a way that's exciting. The significance of lineage and genuineness was also present in Maridueña's standpoint on the movie. The trailer teases the moment in Blue Beetle when Jamie first encounters the scarab and acquires the new suit, stopping his chance at concealing his identity from his loved ones. We see some of these other superheroes, who can hide from their family that they're a superhero, Maridueña pointed out. But Jamie's family is right there with him on that first transformation. To come through this journey together is something we haven't seen in superhero movies, and it's the beating heart of this movie. Although this was my first time being a superhero and coming into a character like this, as you'll see in the movie, it can't have happened without the family. That's a theme that, whether you're Latino or not, transcends ethnicity or color of skin, because that's something we can all relate to. That's been the most exciting part. Even though it's been undeniably, unapologetically Latino, Everyone understands Jamie because they're like people we interact with in our regular life, and their problems are problems that we know. Maybe there'll be room in a second or third one to do the alien stuff, but the stuff you see in this movie is very tangible and feels rooted in today's world. It's the world we know, with an extra 10% of magic. Also, to bring Palmera City to the big screen is fantastic in its own regard, because Blue Beetle, the vision was to have Blue Beetle be on the same level as someone like Superman or Batman, who have Gotham or Metropolis, who have cities that are the beating hearts of the themes of the comics, and to create a world for Jamie in a world where it feels like he fits was such a humbling and honoring experience. The implication of the movie's emphasis on giving underserved societies more cinematic orientation isn't misplaced in Soto, who consumed the Q&A concerning his roots and linked it to the movie's melodies. I am like everyone, I'm as special as everyone. My culture is not a buzzword. We exist, and we coexist, and for me, being able to integrate those things that make us special, the only thing it does is add flavor. It's like laughter. People laugh differently, yet it's still laughter. We deal with grief differently, and we deal with loss differently, but it's still loss. It's always nice to see something that we're used to seeing, with other superheroes that we love and cherish, but what if we see it our way? To invite the audience to not be repelled by it and come to the party. Latino is not a generalization or a buzzword. This is a superhero movie that happens to have Latinos at the forefront. I'm from Puerto Rico. Being able to see something that feels like home in IMAX, not in news, because it's always news or postcards. We're more than that. Being able to see our community represented not just as cliches but maybe being the hero for once. What better thing than to see it on the biggest screen possible? Initially planned to appear for HBO Max, Blue Beetle was ultimately elevated to a theatrical showing, and all the technological advancements that arrived with it, such as employing an IMAX camera for some of the settings. Soto recalled how pre-production on the movie motivated higher UPS at Warner Brothers to cast the film in theaters. Once we started on the script, Soto recalled, we started to create concept art. The studio allowed me to run free in my creativity, and unbeknownst to them and me, they were able to see the promise of how we saw Palmera City, how we really wanted the suit to be, in the bigger realm of the cultural zeitgeist, the kind of impact this can have culturally and in the superhero genre, even just to try something different so that people can see it for what it is: a lot of love, a lot of heart. The studio thought it had the potential to be theatrical. The stories we're telling, the subjects we're touching on, even though it's very grounded, we were treating this like the first act of a big saga. Sometimes the things that can look small, thanks to the clouding of privilege, can be worse than an alien invasion to some people. So how can we translate into a movie where a superhero doesn't have to be saving the planet from this invasion, but it's something some of us can relate to that can feel bigger than life? I think the studio saw the potential there. Jamie Reyes has only existed in the DC universe for a moderately brief time. He first appeared in the comic industry with the events of 2005's Infinite Crisis storyline, where Ted Kord, the second Blue Beetle, had come into contact with the Blue Beetle Scarab. This relic had given Dan Garrett, the first Blue Beetle, his abilities. The Scarab had been thought obliterated early in Ted's superhero profession, but it was found untouched in a pyramid in the Middle East. Ted misplaced the Scarab on a visit to the Rock of Eternity, home of the wizard Shazam. The Rock of Eternity was later demolished in a mystical battle between Shazam and the Spectre. Its contents fired across the earth. The Blue Beetle Scarab was one of those contents as it came down to El Paso, Jaime's home in the comics, which he found in a little later scrap stuck to his back, encasing him in an armored suit. Since that faithful moment, Jamie has become one of the DC Universe's most recognizable young heroes, featuring in video games like Injustice 2 and animated shows like Young Justice and Batman the Brave and the Bold. According to Soto, drawing inspiration for their version of Jamie from multiple sources was more necessary, reflecting a number of different elements of the character. The New 52 was a big inspiration as far as the suit goes, Soto revealed. But we took bits and pieces. There's a lot of great stuff in all the runs. How do you choose one? So we were like, Do we have to choose just one? No? Then let's do whatever the censor we want with it and have fun and create something awesome and create something really interesting that takes from the greatest hits. We even take from the Injustice 2 game. We deep dived on it because it's dope. There are so many great things, from Infinite Crisis to the new series, Blue Beetle, Graduation Day, which actually took a lot from what we did in the movie. We did Palmyra City to put Jamie in a city that Superman has Metropolis, Central City for the Flash. Why doesn't Blue Beetle doesn't have his own city? That doesn't mean El Paso isn't dope. El Paso is awesome. El Paso is very much present in the life of the family. But in service of positioning Blue Beetle as a potential leader in the DCEU, Palmyra City came to life, and thanks to Palmyra City and the bigger world building around it, that's what got us the theatrical. Examining it by what means the movie has even now impacted the comics, Maridueña perceived that it became a particularly thrilling component of the movie's creation. Getting to come in during pre-production and carve out who Jamie was as a character, I'm grateful that Angel gave me a lot of liberties, trusting me as a performer. Jamie feels so honest. Even though we're telling this larger-than-life story, it felt really easy, especially with the help of the family, to get those moments right. Our rehearsal days weren't about getting the lines right. It was about talking as a family. Once that part locked into place, the rest of the dominoes fell perfectly. I think it is due, in part, to wanting the foundation of this movie, the soil of this movie to be really pure. To want the hearts and souls of these characters to be three-dimensional. Once that was in place, everything else melted away. At the same time, we wanted to do something different. We've seen a lot of superhero movies over the last couple of decades, and seeing what slot we can fit in and feel different was one of the most magical parts. It's not about competition for us. We want to enter this space and make it feel new. I think we completed that. I think we did it. While the movie has yet to come out to theaters, the future of Blue Beetle is something that both Maridueña and Soto have slightly thought about. The film teases the heritage of the Blue Beetle's uniqueness, referencing aspects of prior heroes like Ted Kord. While Maridueña mentioned the movie's probable scope could grow to a galactic hierarchy and potential forthcoming thresholds probably guiding to Scarab's comics past and relationships with the alien race known as the Reach, Soto acknowledged that there are additional Latino superheroes he'd love to see, and that's all I can say. I don't want to get into trouble. If you all help us and this film becomes a massive hit, we're going to see a lot of Latino superheroes. That's what needs to happen. If we want to see more variety and really celebrate differences and cultures in other worlds because it's fun, the lores are so spectacular. The only way is to support a movie like this. Also worth mentioning in the trailer was that he was in a hideout where the super suits for Dan Garrett and Ted Kord's particular Blue Beetles are briefly displayed at the end of the Blue Beetle trailer. Garrett was the first Beetle to take on the mantle, followed by Ted Kord. Despite their suits showing in the trailer, Garrett and Kord are not anticipated to show up in Blue Beetle. Jason Sudeikis was momentarily speculated in May 2022 to be playing Ted Kord in the DCEU movie, but his casting was immediately deflated. Aside from Blue Beetle existing in this new continuity, there was a name drop of Batman also being here, which could indicate that Blue Beetle may eventually cross paths with the Dark Knight. Well, that's about it for now. Blue Beetle debuts in theaters on August 18th. Until next time, venture onward. Thank you for listening.